Hey guys, welcome to the Book and Movie channel. Welcome back if you subscribe. This is the channel to come to for all the differences and similarities between books, movies, and video games. So if you don't yet, please subscribe and turn on notifications. If you want to go a step further, there are links to my Patreon and my sponsor, Pancakes Pancakes. Alright, and this week we are covering The Dark Half, written and brought to the screen in the early 90s, which is for the most part a match. Most everything in this movie is in the book, starting with Thad Beaumont having a seizure, followed by a brain operation where some human parts are found in his brain. The movie does well with the special effects of that time to convey the gory details of what the brain surgeon diagnosed to be a parasitic twin in his brain that didn't make it further in development than a blinking eye and a few teeth. Not something unheard of in the medical community, just not in the brain. Anyway, after the brain operation that gained a huge audience of sparrows, the story cuts to Thad as a grown man who has carved out a nice slice of life. He is a successful novelist and teacher, has a nice home and a beautiful family complete with adorable twin babies, but he also writes as two different people. When he writes as himself, his product is benign and light-hearted. When he writes under the pen name George Stark, the work product is very dark and disturbing. And Thad seems to not remember the work he puts out as George Stark, nor does he impart habits and characteristics that come naturally from him. Thad had quit drinking and smoking a long time ago, but he does indulge in liquor and tobacco when writing as George Stark. So he lays that side of himself to rest with an actual cemetery plot and headstone, and that's when the stuff hits the fan. People in his professional circle start turning up dead in gruesome ways, and the physical evidence, namely fingerprints, points directly at him, which is impossible since Thad was attending social gatherings at the time of some of the murders. And he starts getting phone calls from none other than George Stark. And this is where the book and movie start to diverge, just a little. First off, in the movie, George Stark looks exactly like the evil twin or doppelganger of Thad Beaumont. In the book, Thad Beaumont looks, well, like this, good choice for talent. And in the description of George Stark gives me a mental image of Paul Bennett from the first two seasons of Dexter. And as George Stark starts to move closer to Thad and his family, when Thad goes on his fact-finding mission at the hospital, where he had his brain surgery, he gets the information that they dug a parasitic twin out of his brain. But the movie adds a layer that was not in the book, that his parents humanized this eyeball and couple of teeth by giving it a burial, which was another contribution to the manifestation of George Stark outside of Thad Beaumont. In the book, the little bit of history we get on Thad's parents when he was growing up is that they were poor, and his father was given to fits of rage and beating on his family. And also, the doctors kept his parents ignorant of what they really removed from his brain that day. Also in the book, but left out of the movie, understandably so, because how does one coach baby actors? The twins, William and Wendy, have the mysterious psychic connection that twins are known to have, where if one got upset, the other would comfort them, and if one was in danger, the other would scream for them. Also only in the book, and understandably so, a handful of names that take center stage in Needful Things. Since both Dark Half and Needful Things take place in Castle Rock, does anyone else recognize the talent here who plays the sheriff? And now who's officer friendly? The final and most most long and drawn out difference is how watered down George Stark's disintegration is. He leaves New York and heads to Castle Rock looking like half leper, half acid attack victim. And there is a brief moment in the book where Thad is subconsciously writing as George Stark. And while George is holding the twin babies hostage, that said damage briefly reverses itself, but returns with a vengeance when Thad regains control of himself and the sparrows attack. And thankfully, in the movie, no sparrows appear to have been hurt. In the book, some of the soldiers in this sparrow army didn't make it. This big sparrow attack had a couple of awe moments in like the close up on Jonesy's face in Alien, where there were a couple of cute close ups of these cute little birds that I couldn't find any still images of as they pecked through the wall and devoured George Stark alive and carried his bones off to oblivion, which is how the book and the movie end exactly the same. I couldn't find any still images of that either. It was disturbing enough for its time, but by today's standards and what we're used to seeing, it's a bit campy. And that covers the dark half. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment and high five that like button. And I'll see you back next week for the 4th episode of The Expanse.